starting now. This is your local news leader, News 10 ABC at 5:30.
Right now at 5:30, after weeks of living without drinking water, a small community finally seeing some relief. How a $1 million grant is helping the village of Whitehall fix its crumbling water infrastructure.
And last week's extreme heat bringing dangerous conditions across the state, including inside of state prisons. What the Department of Corrections says about their heat protocol and why some believe it's not enough.
Plus, President Trump's budget bill promising big changes. What's at stake as lawmakers in Washington head to a vote?
But first, we begin with that breaking news out of Westerlo in Albany County. At least one person is dead following a crash involving a tractor trailer on County Route 401.
According to the Albany County Sheriff's Office, a family of 6 with 3 children on board failed to stop near the intersection with County Route 404. A tractor trailer hit the car, killing one person. 3 others, including a child, are in the hospital tonight in critical condition.
We will have much more on this story coming up in our next half hour.
After enduring a months-long water emergency, the village of Whitehall finally getting some much-needed relief.
The village is set to receive a $1 million grant aimed at fixing their troubled water infrastructure. News 10 ABC's Vanessa Blasi has more on how this money will be put to work to prevent future outages.
Several months ago, something as simple as turning on the faucet was not an option here in the village of Whitehall, something Mayor Philip Smith tells me he hopes residents will never have to deal with again.
It was a nuisance for a while, especially when the event first happened and we had no water. You couldn't flush a toilet.
5 months of a water emergency hurting residents and businesses across the village.
Back then, it's like every day you were, make sure the dishwasher, make sure the rack is completely full before you run another load of dishes, make sure that we don't waste any water anywhere we can.
Michael Patorti owns Rail Yard Tap Room in Whitehall. In December, his restaurant, along with every other restaurant, was forced to close for at least 4 days.
You don't realize how serious it is until you turn that faucet on. There's nothing there.
The village has since returned to normal, but there's still plenty of work that needs to be done. The village is now getting a $1 million grant from the Northern Border Regional Commission. That money will go straight to water infrastructure.
It's everything from repairing the access road to Pine Lake, our reservoir, to upgrading or replacing the water main.
Plus, the state is asking for sensors in the reservoir so the village can monitor the water levels remotely.
In total, everything that they're asking us to do over the course of quite a few years, I hope, is about $10 million.
A dollar amount they're hoping to reach with grants so that no one has to go through this again.
We feel pretty confident that we're in a position to secure quite a few of those.
If it happens again, I'm probably going to cry. It was difficult. It really was, and it's scary.
Reporting in Whitehall, Vanessa Blasi, News 10 ABC.
Tonight, 2 teenage girls have been seriously injured following a shooting near the historic Stonewall Inn in Manhattan. This happened right after the city's Pride Parade that went through the area there. Police say a fight broke out in a crowded area near Stonewall. A 17-year-old shot in the leg, a 16-year-old was shot in the head. She's currently in critical condition. There have been no arrests made in this case.
Tupper Lake man is facing charges after police allegedly found him in possession of hundreds of bags of fentanyl. Police say that they pulled over Jordan White for an alleged traffic violation after he failed a field sobriety test. Police searched his car and they say that they found 380 bags of fentanyl and a small amount of cocaine. White was charged with multiple drug charges and released.
Jury deliberations now underway in the trial of hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Today, the first full day of deliberations, in fact. Combs has been accused of threatening and abusing women into sexual acts and trying to conceal an alleged sex trafficking enterprise. Combs has said that all of the sex was consensual. He denies the allegations. He could be sentenced to life in prison if convicted.
New details in the alleged ambush in Idaho. 2 firefighters are dead after an alleged arson suspect opened fire on emergency crews responding to a wildfire. Police say that Wes Rowley started the brush fire on Canfield Mountain to lure first responders to that area. During the shootout, 2 fire officials were fatally shot and another was injured. Responding officers fired back. Rowley was found dead a short time later Police believe that he was the only shooter. Fire officials are still working to contain the wildfire the suspect allegedly started.
The Trump administration concluding their investigation at Harvard University, and they have determined that the institution failed to protect Jewish students. A federal task force sent the letter out today saying the university violated civil rights laws. The report finding that Harvard was at times a, quote, willful participant in anti-Semitic harassment of Jewish students. If the school fails to take action, they will lose all federal funding. Harvard has not yet responded.
Well, the clock is ticking on Capitol Hill as senators scramble to work through the massive spending and tax bill. President Trump's bill puts many of his campaign promises into action, including an increase in funding for the border and $4 trillion in tax cuts. To pay for those cuts, the bill takes big slashes to Medicaid. Some lawmakers say that the working class depends on those cuts, but others say it'll strip health coverage for millions of Americans.
If we don't do this, they're going to face a $600 billion tax increase. That's what we're talking about.
It's outrageous. Cutting people's health care, causing people to get sicker and to even die, just to give tax breaks to billionaires.
The Congressional Budget Office estimates that the bill will add at least $3 trillion to the national debt over the next 10 years.
Well, extreme heat, of course, hitting our region last week. And for those inside New York State prisons, advocates say the conditions were especially challenging.
The Department of Corrections says that they followed protocol, but advocates say otherwise. Our Capitol correspondent Jamie DeLine has more on the state's laws.
The thing about prisons is that the heat never really goes away.
Thomas Gant, community organizer for the Center of Community for Alternatives, worries about the well-being of those incarcerated, given the hot temperatures.
Legislation was passed last year, in fact, that mandated the Department of Corrections to have a heat mitigation plan. And so from what we're hearing from the inside, that plan has not been enacted, and folks are suffering, and it's quite unbearable.
According to the New York State Department of Correction and Community Supervision, known as DOCS, it, quote, actively engages in the statewide Extreme Heat Action Plan work group. The department says fans are used in galleries and personal fans are available in the commissary. However, Gant says more needs to be done.
Folks need access to fans, larger fans, possibly to help mitigate the heat, not the pocket fans that is sold on commissary. Access to ice frequently to help mitigate that. Also, frequent showers.
DOC says a memo was sent to prison superintendents last week offering heat-related guidance, such as ensuring staff and those incarcerated were given water to stay hydrated, as well as ice. In a statement, DOC said, quote, all incarcerated individuals are monitored for any signs or symptoms of heat-related illnesses, and medical attention is provided as necessary. Air conditioning is provided in medical areas. It went on to say, quote, all other housing units in DOC's facilities are properly ventilated in accordance with national standards set by the American Correctional Association. In Albany, I'm Jamie DeLine.
Well, summer is here, and so are the ticks. With tick-borne diseases on the rise, staying protected is key.
That certainly is. Just ahead, how you can learn to identify, prevent, and treat tick bites and keep yourself and loved ones safe this upcoming holiday weekend. Alyssa.
Beautiful, hot day, but we do have a little bit of wet weather in the forecast now as we move into tonight and tomorrow. We'll time that out for you and, of course, look ahead to the 4th of July when we come back.
You're watching News 10 ABC, your local news leader. With Trishna Begum, Casey Kantz, and meteorologist Alyssa Caporizzo.